Hello everyone, I'm here with Eddie Stone, the CEO of Touchstone Essentials, and we are here in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm Berit Børte. I'm a biodynamic craniosacral therapist for both people and animals. And we are here to talk about the new product, which is called Telo-Vital. And that's a very amazing and incredible product, and we are so proud of this. So Eddie, can you just take us through the origin of how you come up with this phenomenal product? And we also will share some what we have experienced in this a little bit more than 3 months now we have used it.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting what we've seen. I'm just turned 62 years old. I've been in the supplement space for almost 40 years, and most impactful and dynamic product we've ever worked with. I feel proud of some things we've done, but this is special. But I'll give you just a quick history. Back in the late 1990s, I was driving for work out of the San Francisco airport to Northern California for a project, and listening to the public radio, and it was a story. The person speaking was talking about human biome, which I know maybe for some of you doesn't sound exciting, but it's a very interesting subject. And in the late 90s, we hadn't spoken a lot about human biome and the role that plays in your health. The next speaker was Dr. Andrews, and he was talking about human genome mapping, which again in the late 90s, right? That was a pretty new subject matter that had just been figured out and identified. And he was talking about telomeres, it's part of the conversation, and your DNA. And at the time, I don't think I fully understood the role of the DNA. It's kind of like the software that protects the replication of cells, which is a constant product, a constant dynamic going on in the body. And the DNA needs protection, and at the end of its strand, there's something called a telomere. It's almost like the little plastic tip on the end of a shoestring. And that's there because the DNA can't really protect itself. It needs that. And when the telomere gets too short, that DNA strand is no longer effective or supports the body, and the cell associated with it goes into something called senescence, or it dies, and it can impact other cells. And essentially, it's kind of hard to sort of digest this. It governs the length of life more than any other factor. We all know your habits, how you eat, don't eat, lifestyle play a role. If you get a disease, right, this is a problem. There's lots of things that are factors in your longevity and the quality of your health, but nothing governs it more tightly than the telomeres, protection of the DNA, this replication process. We won't spend too much time on that, but I'll fast forward a little bit. So I heard Bill on this show. I was completely fascinated, but there wasn't I had no thought that my life and his life path would cross. And then a few years ago, I met someone that had a relationship with him. I expressed some of my interest in this subject matter, and they said, well, listen, why don't I connect you with Dr. Andrews? And I thought, that's fantastic. I went in and told my wife, I said, I'm going to speak to this guy that I've been a fan of forever. He doesn't know anything about me. And, in the time that I heard him, fast forward, a couple of decades, his work in understanding of telomeres just simply grew. Some of his work with some other colleagues led to a Nobel Prize. So just a guy on the cutting edge of science. And what he identified was that this natural enzyme, telomerase, which is produced in necessary abundance when a child is or the process of a child growing in a woman's womb, right? So at the moment egg and sperm meet through the end of gestation, so 9 months under normal circumstances, there's a lot of telomerase that's utilized to keep protection of all the cell replication occurring to create this wonderful thing called a human being. But after we're born, essentially that production of telomerase falls off to near zero. And so the length of our telomeres is finite at that point. And when that length runs out, then it's, we're going to die. That's just how it works. I hate to be so blunt. And most calculations are that governance is about 120 to 125 years right now. So what that means is under all conditions being perfect, that would be the end of the life cycle. And unless some drug that affects that or gene splicing affects that in the future, that's just simply how this works. But we do know that the length of the telomere also affects the quality of life. And so it impacts, once you get critically short telomeres, no matter what body system that's being affected by, it could be your central nervous system, could be your digestive system, could be your immune system, whatever it happens to be, those things become compromised. And of course, we become more vulnerable to disease. And as we get older, all of these telomeres shortening, right, this is really challenging. And so Bill's research is really based upon curing what he calls a disease of aging. Not everybody thinks of it that way. It's pretty fascinating. And so when he thinks of that, right, the first thing to do is how to protect the telomere. And recognizing the production of telomerase is the only thing that we can say with certainty that lengthens a telomere. Other things, and I've seen products that advertise that they do, but when you look at the science, they're not addressing the telomerase production. And so, whatever research they're doing is not accurate in this statement. And so Bill tested over the course of his career with his colleagues 30,000+ different substances. About 20,000 of those were what we would refer to as natural. And he ultimately, in a decade plus work, got it down to about a half dozen things, maybe as much as a dozen natural ingredients that could affect the production of telomerase. It's called a telomerase inducer. And we met him. He was intrigued by the type of work we did, paying close attention to how we source USDA organic, clean, nothing artificial, colors, flavors, additives, protective amber glass bottles, just the entire practices of the company. And when we spoke, we thought, man, this might be the perfect marriage. This decades-long, invaluable research that cost millions and millions of dollars with someone with this type of care and how we deliver a product. And so we agreed, hey, this could be a really great match. And so we've spent the last couple of years working closely with him on sourcing the finest sources of ingredients that were reflected as through the science. I mean, this is very, very clear lab work that supports the production of telomerase. But it isn't just that. Sometimes I think people look at the label, look at those ingredients and say, oh, well, that's great. The biggest challenge is that not the whole ingredient will work. So every ingredient has what we call telomerase suppressors as well as telomerase inducers. And so the real lengthy part of the exercise was to go through extract combination after extract combination to remove the things that suppress the production of telomerase and to enhance the things that increase their production. So for example, the turmeric is curcumin free and other things free. But the bottom line is that became the real work to make sure that what we had would induce the production of telomerase and nothing would suppress it. And so when we finally found this right combination, went through all the science, all the testing, all the things that had become before, we realized this is going to be special. And that's really what's turned out to be true. We've even found in our own experience, we have products that people really enjoy and they buy again and again and again. But this is the highest rate of continued use that we've experienced as an organization, and I can only say that's really only happening because it does something for people. It's powerful. Everybody sort of has their own experience, but quality of sleep, mental clarity. I've noticed issues with my prostate. For a lot of men on this call, prostate's not quite as strong as it used to be when we were younger. It's not uncommon for a man to get up 1, 2, 3. I mean, I've heard even more times for night. Even women sometimes have these dynamics, and I found quickly, and I'm not trying to say this cures, mitigates, or treats your inflamed or enlarged prostate. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying one of the things that I found while using it, and to my best ability, nothing else changed in my diet, was that I just did not have the same desire to get up in the middle of the night and use the restroom, right? So oftentimes now I get up none, maybe sometimes one, and might sound like a subtle thing, but man, it's a big deal to me. And other people have their own experiences, but the bottom line is increasing that production of telomerase will help with this tug of war. And some estimates are could have an impact on, and we've got a lot of work to do for all these verifications, but as much as 6 to 8% in longevity cycle. You know, just because you're no matter what age you are. I mean, you could be 18 when you start this, and you all of a sudden reset the clock like compounding interest, because over time that value increases. And so we're excited about what we've learned. We're really excited about what we're going to learn and the experiences people are having. And so for anybody out there that's really, it matters to you about the quality of health, not just how old you are, but the quality and vitality that you enjoy in that journey. I encourage you to look at this. We've got a lot of information out there. I think you're going to find it intriguing. Of course, just like everything we have is all unconditionally money back guaranteed, but we think this is one of the best tools we've seen. Some of these other products out there that help with mitochondria and energy production, great ideas. A lot of great longevity products, but if you're not addressing telomerase production that by default affects the length of the telomere, you're missing a very key and governing component of aging.
Yes. And I have experienced myself that I had a knee injury over 30 years ago with the ligament in my knee, so it was broken. So I had a surgery for this, and this knee has not been stable and strong as the other one since over 30 years ago. But what I experienced with only taking one capsule of this for less than 2 months, I went on a hiking, because I haven't been done very much of hiking and other things because of my knee. But then I went very steep downhill, and I could trust my knee again. It was stable, it was strong, and it was quite steep, this place I was on my hiking, and I was like, wow, I haven't had this feeling for over 30 years. So we also have experiences with so many other cases. We have one with who was in a car accident in 2008, and her back was very damaged in this crash. And she has been using a special belt for her back, and also had injuries in her shoulder and also her ankle. And now she's letting go of all this support, and the pain is gone, and it's incredible. And she couldn't believe it. So when this happened, just after less than 2 weeks, she couldn't believe it, but it's still it's still pain-free, and it's still strong. So we have amazing testimonials on this Telo-Vital. So we see it in people having accidents, or also illnesses, and of course also a lot of inflammation type of issues. We see great testimonials on all of this.
And let me say this about that. I want to make sure this isn't to suggest that the product is cure, mitigating, or treating disease. That's not our supposition. With all of our products, we're trying to create the healthiest body possible.
Yes.
Just like when we have our detox products, get the bad stuff out, get our high quality nutrition in this way, try to address the health of the telomere, because if you get out of the way of the body, if you improve its functioning condition, then the body's native abilities to either repair or manage or deal with illness or injury is just greater. And that's what we're seeing here. It's not to suggest that somehow this replaces orthopedic surgeries or something. No. This is about improving the health of the body so it can function at its highest order. And so that's what we see, and that's what we're excited about.
Yeah. Yes, we are very exciting, and we are, as I said, it has been a little bit more than 3 months since it was launched, and to see what will happen in half a year and also a year to now.
I think it's going to be exciting.
Very exciting. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time, Eddie, and I'm so looking forward to what we will experience in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.